Hey, it's PMR. I've got a new lens shade from Zemlin Photo I wanted to kind of talk to you about today. Let's get into it. So the lens shade that comes in the 300-2.8 GM lens is excellent. It's easily the best made lens shade I've ever had that came from a major manufacturer, especially because it's got the push button lock that's flush instead of that big thing sticking out with the knob that breaks, and it's a hassle. The other thing Sony has figured out is that they are charging such a reasonable price. So this lens shade is only $199 to replace. The old 300-2.8 lens shade for the A-mount system was, I think, around $900. And it was made with carbon fiber and stuff, but it wasn't worth $900. So everything about this lens shade is excellent. But you notice I have tape on it, and that's because they get scratched because it's white. The white lenses reflect heat. So when you're out in the heat of the day, shooting sports or wildlife or nature or whatever, it's actually better to have a light colored color on the lens because it deflects heat. But ultimately, what I don't like about this lens shade is it's too short. You can see how different the length is, and Zemlin makes different lengths as well. So if you want something even shorter, if you're shooting basketball, I think they've got one that's like this long, which is kind of cool. So let's take a little closer look at this. The Zemlin shade is very, very well made. It's 3D printed in this guy's garage. It's got a bayonet mount, okay? Now the bayonet does not work with the normal bayonet that came on the Sony lens. There's a small band here that you have to add to your 300 GM, and it requires just this little tiny 1.5 millimeter Allen set screw. So you put that in there and you tighten it. It's very small, but you don't need to over tighten this, but you need to tighten it. And he gives great directions about how big this gap should be. So anyway, this is a very, very well made product, and it goes on so easily. And because it's black, you don't need to tape it up like I have this one done. I think this is an excellent product. And I think that there's, for one very good reason, I think this is going to sell like hotcakes. And that is that of the three big fast lenses now that Sony has, the 300-2.8, the 400-2.8, and the 600-f4, this lens, more than any other, is going to get teleconverters attached to it. And when you attach teleconverters, of course, your focal length changes. Your field of vision, you see less through the center of the optic. And so it gets a little more interesting in terms of lens flare. And because this one is so much longer than the stock shade, I think that this is going to be more useful to me immediately. I don't think that I'll use this one much at all anymore, but it is nice to know that if I do want to use it or if I break it or whatever, it's only $200 to fix it. So how much is this thing? This thing was $164.95. It took about 2 weeks to get. He literally makes these in his garage. With shipping and everything, it was $175.45 to come to me. I think it's an excellent value. It's less expensive than the Sony shade, but really it's just better if you're going to use teleconverters. If you're only going to use your 300 as a prime lens and never put a teleconverter on it, this shade's great, no problem. But if you're going to look for a shorter version of this shade for basketball and not want something this long, that's an option too. So you might check out his website, Zemlin Photo. I'm going to put the link up here.
When I got serious about creating my YouTube studio, I knew I needed a solution for LED lighting. Westcott's L60Bs are fantastic and are the perfect blend of power, control, and price point.
Is that I took some photographs with the stock shade of the sky at 2.8. I wanted to see if there was any appreciable vignetting. And then I went and I installed the shade and I put the shade on. I took another picture of the same. There's no vignetting. I can find very little, if any, evidence that there's any change in exposure at all. If there's a change, it's like maybe 1/10 of a stop, which is totally negligible, but it's hard to tell because the sky is changing all the time, and I was using the sky to figure it out. So don't expect to see any big vignetting at all with the Zemlin shade. I think this is going to prove to be an excellent, excellent value for the money. I think a lot of people are going to buy these. By the way, I've never met the guy before. I don't know him. There's no money changed hands. This is just me. As an individual, I bought one of these on my own because I wanted something longer than the stock shade. I'm very happy with it. If you want to take off the shade and take off the ring, the bayonet ring that attaches to it, it would be like 30 seconds and it's off, and you can go back to this. So the most difficult thing about installation of the shade was how long it took me to find this little guy in my toolbox in the garage, 1.5 millimeters. So make sure you have one of these before you order your shade, because you're going to need it. Otherwise, I think it's a great product. He does make shades for other lenses. He also makes lens caps. So he makes a cap that fits perfectly, like for if you're gonna store this, or you're gonna like put it in a backpack. There it goes. He makes a cap that's specific for the front of the lens. I'm not gonna buy that, at least right now, but that's another option you get that'll protect the front element. But all in all, I just think this is a great product. I highly recommend it. I'm PMR. Thanks so much for watching.